Yes, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You know, if I told you 2 weeks ago we'd be sitting here on June 8th with the Raptors up 3-1 on the Warriors in the NBA Finals and looking to close it out on Monday night in Canada, you'd have said, Scott, don't bet on it. Don't bet on it. Very interesting phrase, meaning something that is unlikely to be true or to actually happen. Well, one of our experts bet on it big last night in Game 4. 9 slips cashed in on 9 different bets. So when we say don't bet on it, we mean don't bet on it until you watch this program first. I'm Scott Stanford. This is Sportsline. Let's bet on it, shall we? Scott Stanford along with Tim Doyle, Chip Patterson, Hammer and Hank Goldberg, and Kenny White. Another terrific matchup tonight as number 3 Purdue going up against 6 seed Villanova. Chip, I want to start with you. Purdue looking for its 3rd straight appearance in the Sweet 16. Does that dream become a reality against the defending champs? CJ, listen, we're going to get to the Old Spice products in a bit. I can't believe it's been 7 years since you guys took care of a 2nd seed Duke. We're going to touch on that in a second. But listen, first, of course, we got to talk about that knee, man. You went down Saturday in that game against the Spurs. Let's start out with the knee. How's it feeling? When can we expect you back out on the floor? They absolutely crushed Abilene Christian by a score of 79-44. Just crushed them. PJ getting some much-needed rest with that bum ankle. Look at this, the largest NCAA tournament margins of victory. You got some big ones right there. By a Kentucky program, 35 points. But let's bring in the experts. Hammer and Hank Goldberg, the Wizard of Odds, Kenny White, and college hoops writer Chip Patterson out in Columbia. Chip, I want to start right out with you. You talk about raising your stock. For those college hoops fans who didn't know about Ja Morant, they know him now, and they know why he's soon to go top 3 in the NBA draft. The Big Ten doing their thing. This is CBS Sports HQ presented by Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports. Rolling along as we break down the 8 games headed your way on this Saturday. Scott Stanford alongside Tim Doyle, Chip Patterson, Hank Goldberg, the Wizard of Odds, Kenny White. Fellas, so far the tournament's been absolutely as advertised. And we just mentioned it. One of the storylines from Thursday, Richard Pitino's Minnesota Golden Gophers taking out his dad's former squad at Louisville. Rick Pitino, I believe, still smiling at this very moment. And the other story everybody talking about was not Michigan State's win, but more about head coach Tom Izzo's outburst at freshman player Aaron Henry. You know, Tim, a lot of folks on social media, a lot of people outraged. But you know what? Myself included, I know a lot of the media commentators, the sports talk radio is all abuzz, right? And I think to a man, so many hosts and commentators are like, the guy was coaching. This is what coaching means. Ladies and gentlemen, 8 games coming up on the docket today. It is going to be another barn burner. For this handsome gentleman, Tim Doyle, I'm Scott Stanford. Lots more coming your way right here on CBS Sports HQ. Bye-bye. All right, let's check your news in 90. The NBA has slapped Clippers head coach Doc Rivers with a $50,000 fine for what they say was tampering. While he was appearing on ESPN's NBA Finals preview show on Tuesday, Rivers compared Kawhi Leonard, who's a free agent after the season, to Michael Jordan. Now, in the eyes of the NBA, that's tampering, since Doc is a current NBA head coach, so cost him $50K. Hey, if you're following the collegiate career of receiver Brew McCoy, and I know you are, McCoy is transferring yet again. It'll be the 2nd time in 4 months. McCoy transferred to Texas from USC. Now he's expected to head back to Southern Cal and rejoin the Trojans. McCoy is ranked as the number 9 overall prospect by 24/7 Sports. Blue Jays rookie Vladimir Guerrero Jr. homered in the 8th inning against the Rockies on Friday night. It was the 1,120th home run for all of Major League Baseball in the month of May. The single most home runs for any month in baseball history. That broke the record set in 2017. The final tally for May, 1,135 home runs. All right, in the Stanley Cup final, the Blues broke an 0-for-13 skid in the championship series, winning their first final game in franchise history. The win came in Game 2 against the Bruins, which also stopped an 8-game winning streak for Boston. Now the series shifts to St. Louis for Game 3 tonight. The man responsible for that Blues win, there he is, Carl Gunnarsson. Gunnarsson scored his first career postseason goal in overtime to lead St. Louis to victory. It was his 57th postseason appearance. Gunnarsson becomes the third player to score his first career playoff goal in OT of a Stanley Cup game final. He joins Brian Scrudlin in 1986 and Cy Wentworth in 1931. I bet you Cy Wentworth had no idea his name was going to be mentioned today. He's also the second defenseman to accomplish the feat on the road in the final. Chicago's Brent Seabrook also did it in 2013. All right, I want to break this series down, my friends, with our experts. Joining me now, some of the best in the business, playoff Pete Blackburn, the Wizard of Odds Kenny White, and former casino odds maker Todd Furman. Guys, listen, before we pick this game, I want to dish it out to Pete there in Boston. Pete, listen, you've been watching the Bruins daily throughout the season, right? I mean, you know this team better than most. What went wrong for those guys in Game 2, and what do they need to do to turn it around in Game 3?
Well, it was just an overall better effort from the Blues in Game 2. I mean, they were terrible in Game 1 in terms of, their ability to produce anything. They didn't get anything through the last 40 minutes. So it was a much better, stronger overall effort from the Blues, and I think that's what we're going to see from that team moving forward. But the Bruins weren't good enough either. I mean, their top line didn't get anything going. They weren't quite as good defensively. So it was just sort of I would look at it as a push at this point because the Blues didn't have their best in Game 1. The Bruins certainly didn't have their best in Game 2. I think we're going to start seeing more of a strength versus strength with this series moving forward, starting with Game 3. Both teams have a bad game that they got out of the way a little bit, and now we're going to see them sort of shake that off and have more of a defensive, stronger battle here moving forward.
All right, Pete, so listen, tell me a little more about the Blues. Obviously, they won their first game ever in a Stanley Cup final. What are your keys to the game for them tonight to take a 2-1 lead in the series?
Well, I mean, they limited what they were able to give the Bruins offensively in last game. I mean, they were much better with closing the gaps in their defensive coverage. They also were a much better team offensively. They got the pucks in deep, and then they were able to cycle the zone and get, establish consistent zone time. And that's something that's really important for their offensive structure because they like to move the puck around. They like to work all parts of the zone and establish a little bit of pressure in front of the net, get bodies in front, deflect pucks, get dirty goals, blue-collar goals. So they were able to do that much better in Game 2, and I think that's more what we're going to see with this Blues team because Game 1 was really out of the ordinary for a team that's been really good through the second half of the year.
All right, Pete, so, give it to me right now. Well, what's your pick here for Game 3? Who do you like?
I have to go with the Bruins because, one, I like the price. It's anytime you can get this Bruins team with plus money, I think that's pretty tempting. But also, we saw this was Game 2 was probably their worst game of the playoffs since Game 1 against the Maple Leafs. And they came out after that game with, an absolutely vicious tenacity and intensity. And we didn't see that from this team in Game 2. I think we're going to see them really ramp it up here in Game 3, trying to sort of expunge what happened in Game 2 and bounce back. And this has been a resilient team all year long. I like what I've seen from Tuukka Rask. Conversely, I haven't really liked what I've seen from Jordan Binnington. I know he's been okay, but he's also let up a few soft goals. So I think the Bruins bounce back here. I don't think they're going to be scared going into the Blues' building. And the Blues haven't been that great at home. So it's too tempting to pass up on the Bruins here.
All right, Pete going with the Bruins. Todd, Kenny, I want to get you guys involved in this game. Where are you headed? Do you like the Bruins to take a series lead, or are you going with the hometown Blues? Todd, I'll start with you, buddy.
Well, Pete, Pete mentioned the record for the Blues at home so far this postseason. Only 5-5 right now. He talked a little bit about some of their top performers, Brad Marchand, Patrice Bergeron, David Pastrnak, a combined -7 so far this series. That has to change. And if you'd have told the Bruins coming in that they could get a split at home, despite some of those performances from a lot of their key contributors, I think they would have gone, where do we sign? We're more than happy to try and take our chances. I'm in the same camp as Pete. I think you look at this Bruins team, you can throw out Game 2. They were the dominant team for the better part of Game 1. I think there's a lot more pressure on the Blues now coming home, playing in front of their fervent fan base. And I really believe Boston goes up in the series, winning Game 3, taking a 2-1 lead. Kenny, it's your turn, though. Are you getting on board? Are we going to call this a clean sweep?
No, I'm getting on board. It's just amazing. When you're trying to predict outcomes of sporting events, it's amazing how professional athletes, I feel, can let down and not play their A game from game to game. And Boston came out in Game 1 They heard all about 11 days off, that they were going to be rusty. They fell down 2-0 in the hockey game, and then they come flying back, a tight 3-2 game. They get an empty netter to win 4-2. They started to think, we were off 11 days and we were rusty, and we still beat that team. We're better than the Blues. They came out in game 2 just with not the same intensity that they did in game 1. And then all of a sudden the Blues win a game. So now it goes back and forth. We have home revenge in the game. And what home revenge to me means is Boston has to play with more focus today. They have to be more prepared. They have to make more hits. They've got to stop. They got to fill those gaps up on defense. And they've just got to play great defensive hockey, and they've got to attack. So that's what Boston's going to do. St. Louis, they got their win on the road. They're happy. They're professional athletes. Maybe they relax a little bit too much at home today. I think Boston's a slightly better team with that home revenge angle. It's worth 25 cents to me. I don't make a bet just because they have home revenge. I've got to add that into the calculations. And it's, as I said, losing at home, playing that same team on their home venues worth 25 cents on average. And that puts me on a play on Boston today, plus $1.05.
And Kenny, I know the over-under on this one is 5. I know you're gunning for that 5.5, but I just don't think you're getting it tonight, my friend.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think I'm seeing 5 over 45. So I actually did go under 6, and I laid minus 195 under 6 goals in an alternate puck line.
Let's take you to the pitch where a pair of English clubs are going to square off for European soccer's most prestigious interleague trophy this afternoon. It's Tottenham and Liverpool in the Champions League final. This is Tottenham's first appearance in the final, my friends. Listen, it's their first appearance while Liverpool is back in the dance for a 9th time and second in as many seasons. Harry Kane's going to return for Tottenham after sitting out with an ankle injury. Let's welcome back in our former casino odds maker and Vegas insider, Todd Furman. Todd, listen, you know your way around the pitch better than anybody. We have a massive game between Tottenham and Liverpool in the Champions League final. First now, listen, for the folks who don't usually bet soccer, give us an explainer on how to approach a game like this, and then, give us your pick, my friend.
Well, Scott, it's a great place to start when you look at soccer and some of the subtle nuances that these betting markets present that we don't grow accustomed to in traditional North American sports. So first and foremost, when you look at the three-way line and you look at the over-under, Liverpool about $1.20 favorite, the total set at 2.5, as we've seen some under money come in this morning. It's important to know that that number only considers 90 minutes of regulation and any additional stoppage time. So if this were to go to extra time, soccer's equivalent of overtime, or subsequently penalty kicks, that bet wouldn't be graded a winner if you bet either Tottenham on the three-way line or Liverpool in the same scenario. That market is actually odds to win the cup, where you're seeing Liverpool right around a $2 favorite, take back $1.70 on Tottenham. You have to go all the way back to 2001 to find the inferior team, and that's using the ELO rating system, and an underdog that's won outright in 90 minutes. So Tottenham working against a bit of history here. Neither one of these current managers has brought a trophy to their respective clubs. You mentioned some of Tottenham's struggles to even get to this stage. You got to go back to 1984 to find the last time they played in a European League final. Jurgen Klopp was here a year ago with some shaky goalkeeping that ultimately led to their demise against Real Madrid. Liverpool second in the Prem this season, finished 1 point short of Man City. Tottenham way down the ladder, and they were pretty fortunate to even get here, needing some late heroics against Ajax on the road to punch their ticket. A couple injuries you're going to want to keep tabs on, especially on the Tottenham side. Harry Kane hasn't appeared in any action for Tottenham since April 9th. Very interested to see if Mauricio Pochettino, who says he's healthy, decides to insert him in the starting lineup, or we'll see him come in off the bench. Liverpool, on the other hand, Roberto Firmino. He is one of the more electric players that you're going to find out there, kind of a playmaker, goal scorer extraordinaire. We'll see about his fitness level as well. When I break this game down, though, I ultimately think Liverpool, having been here, done that, is able to raise a cup, finally shedding the mantra that Jurgen Klopp can't perform on the biggest stage. He's lost 6 out of the last 7 cup finals that he's been in the past. I just really get the feeling that Poole, who beat Tottenham twice during the Premier League campaign, finds a way to do it a third time. But I really like the goals market. And I think when you look at the way this game will be played, I think we could see a lot more fireworks than a lot of people expect. I know there's been professional money coming in under the total at 2.5. I'm going to lean over the total, but I'm going to go to another unique soccer market and go both teams to score, meaning as long as we get to a 1-1 scoreline at some point, you'll have a little more money in your pocket. But this game is definitely worth the watch. It'll be only the second all-English final we've seen in Champions League history.
All right, Todd Furman, when I said you knew your soccer, that was pretty much an understatement, my friend. And don't tweet me and say I said soccer instead of football, folks. Todd, thank you, buddy. All right, check out more Champions League picks from our experts over at sportsline.com. All you have to do is sign up using the promo code PRESS. You're going to gain access to all the tools you need to make your pick. That's sportsline.com, promo code PRESS. All right, ladies and gentlemen, 2 early games in Major League Baseball today, at least before the 4 p.m. slate. The matchup you're going to want to keep an eye on is the Rays and Twins. Yonny Chirinos is going to start the game for Tampa Bay while Kyle Gibson goes for Minnesota. Both these teams very surprisingly good seasons so far, especially the Twins, as both are in contention as we enter the month of June. All right, my friends, welcome back to Sportsline. I want to break down some of these games with our experts, Todd Furman, Wizard of Odds, Kenny White. And guys, listen, let's start with that Twins-Rays game. 2 teams that I'm sure many would have predicted to be here at this point. Both are in contention on the first day in June. Today the 2 teams are in action at the Trop. Kenny, I want to start with you. What's your early slate selection for this particular game?
Scott, I'm going to go under 8 in this game, and it's all about pitching. Kyle Gibson, a 31-year-old right-hander, came up with the Twins. He is like fine wine. At 31 years old, the last 3 years, he's increased his strikeout rate from 6.9 to 8.2 to 9.4 Ks per 9 innings. He's striking out more than a guy an inning, yet 2 years ago, he was only striking out 7 guys per 9 innings or less than, and he's only walking 2.2 hitters. The big thing about Gibson, he throws a sinker, and when he throws it, he gets ground balls. When he needs a fly ball, he throws that 4-seamer. He has been simply amazing, very unlucky so far this year. Watch this guy. He's going to be one of the top 25 pitchers in Major League Baseball by the end of the year. Yonny Chirinos, in his 5 starts, ERA 2.08, 30 innings, only allowed 7 earned runs and 4 walks in that time. This is definitely an under game. 2 really good pitchers.
Well, Kenny, if Kyle Gibson's fine wine, he's gone from 2-buck Chuck more to a yellowtail. I'm not going to call him an Opus 1 by any stretch of the imagination. But at the same time, the points you make about the Twins are the reason that I like this side in this particular game. Minnesota's shown a ton of resiliency. They were blown out game 1 of the series. Last night, there was some late heroics from Eddie Rosario that got them over the hump. And Gibson has been the guy that they can lean on. He's not going to go out there and wow you like their ace and Jose Barrios, but he's going to give you consistent performances. And when I look at the other side for Tampa, I know Chirinos has actually been a lot better than I anticipate coming into the season. I really believe he's been a little bit lucky when you consider he's held opponents to batted balls in play of a sub-200 average. His strand rate is off the charts. Even if he regresses a little bit today and he's able to give up 3 earned runs through 5 for a starter that doesn't go all that deep, I think the under has an excellent chance to cash, but I think the Twins ultimately end up on top. So I'll take the road team here, minus a nickel.
Ladies and gentlemen, just when you thought the action has come to an end, we are going with Sportsline Overtime. Stay with us.